Okay, so Venom: The Last Dance. I made a video of my review, but usually I like to make the videos talking about the Rotten Tomatoes scores before I go see the movie. This time I did it a little bit differently. I'm actually looking at the Rotten Tomatoes scores after the movie. So spoiler alert for Venom: The Last Dance, because we have both critic reviews and fan reviews, and I think it's very interesting. So a little story about this first. It started off with the Twitter reviews, and most of them were positive. Then we got the critics reviews, and that basically at this point has led us to a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 150 reviews. Then after the movie came out, we got the fans reviews, 2,500 plus verified ratings, and they gave it an 80%. So we're going to go through both critics and fans to see, is this movie actually good? And because I've been seeing a lot of mixed things, but it seems like a lot of fans love the movie. My opinion on the movie, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I mean, there's definitely some slow parts. The action was really good. I love Tom Hardy in this movie as both Eddie Brock and Venom, and I think the supporting characters were all pretty good. We'll get more into thoughts later on. Let's go through the reviews. Venom: The Last Dance is the agonizing death rattle for what might be the most irritating series of superhero movies within the past 25 years, but it does contain one tolerable, even slightly amusing stretch. Venom ran out of naphtha and gasoline in its second outing. Funny and warm, even if elements are pasted together without much regard for logic. Indeed, the narrative relies far too heavily on the coincidence. I'm going to see this review a lot, that people are saying a lot of it is coincidences, which I actually didn't really notice when I was watching, but the more I thought about it after seeing these reviews, it made sense to me. There is some fun along the way, such as the moment from the promotional footage in which Venom overtakes a horse to supercharge it, but there's nothing special to be found in The Last Dance. I'm going to disagree with that one. I think there is some special elements in this. The film is, for the most part, a litany of bad, embarrassing, or lowest common denominator choices, and it's unsurprising that the love interest from previous films, Michelle Williams, has opted to cut and run with this new one. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about it. It was interesting that she wasn't in this, but you know what? They kind of hinted to Eddie wanting to be a father when they were in the van, so I thought that maybe there could be some type of connection, but we'll keep going. The good news is that it's energetic and fun. It's a popcorn movie by every definition of a popcorn movie at every level. Tom Hardy and Kelly Marcel achieve the perfect symbiosis, making Venom 3: The Last Dance an intense and emotional closing of the trilogy for the Lethal Protector. It definitely is a popcorn movie. I will say that 100,000%. The movie navigates through a thematic narrative and visual mediocrity that isn't bothersome but is not too surprising either. It's commendable that Hardy and company managed to serve up three goofy takes on an inherently absurd character that remained emotionally honest right up until the very end. Hardy, Marcel, and company seem to genuinely love these characters. It's unfortunate that the remaining majority of the runtime is a headache and a half, but as Marvel movies as a large begin to wane in quality and cultural relevance, we'll take what we can get. I feel like some of these reviews try to go deeper than what they're supposed to be. Audiences will be glad to see the back of this adolescent, childish sequence of films when the highlight of a trilogy turns out to be a clip from another movie. It's time to pack up and go home. The Venom franchise is thankfully null and void. I see what you did there. Venom: The Last Dance channels a forgotten 90s trilogy vibe, delivering laughs and action, but often tipping into absurdity. The film is another poorly thought-out attempt by Sony to create the studio's own version of the MCU using Spider-Man family characters who cannot and will not interact with Spider-Man on the big screen. I've seen a lot of reviews doing this, that their biggest complaint was there's no Spider-Man, and I keep going back and forth in that, where it's like, I kind of get it that there's no Spider-Man, it being the end of the trilogy, and it seemed like the end of the trilogy was also a setup for something bigger. Why wasn't Spider-Man in this movie? But then again, it's also just a trilogy about Venom, so maybe expecting Spider-Man was the wrong idea. Venom: The Last Dance continues the tradition of being better than the previous one. It's a rollicking adventure that's not only a great wrap-up to these characters, but it's simply good old-fashioned entertainment for entertainment's sake. The Last Dance doesn't deliver on the iffy but intriguing comic madness Sony has been teasing. It doesn't bring the gooey, gory bit of ridiculous adaptation to the fitting end. As a popcorn flick where you park your brain and enjoy watching Venom bite off people's heads for an hour and 40 minutes, it's dumb fun. The Last Dance doesn't feel like a substantive end to an overall trilogy. It often flaunts that it's not the end of the story, but at least we know the humans and aliens can coexist. For a movie claiming to be the final installment, it concludes with a whimper, failing to raise the stakes enough to make you care about the fate of the main character and those around him. Yeah, I could kind of agree with that, but I did care about the fate of the main character for sure, which is Eddie Brock. Somehow The Last Dance is simultaneously 20 minutes too long for the script. They have 30 minutes too short for the story they want to tell. The ending means to stir our emotions, and it does inspire one, relief that it's over. The third installment is about as good as the previous two entries in the franchise. It's as generic as the first one, and as cartoony as the second. Venom The Last Dance is not good, but I had a blast watching it. Sigh. Let's get into some fan reviews and some verified fan reviews. I was curious and thought, to hell with it, I'll go see Venom on a discount day. Why not? I genuinely wish I spent my dollars elsewhere. Left the movie once, the whole family and Venom started singing, shaking my head. First and the last Venom movie I'm willing to watch. Well, I don't know why you would watch the last Venom movie as your first Venom movie, but that's okay. Amazing movie, a lot action and comedy. Senseless movie with a disjointed plot. Way too many coincidences, like a random family offering a ride to Vegas and Miss Chen just happening to be at the same exact casino at the same time as them. Save your time. I was pleasantly surprised by the film. I thought the special effects were amazing. The story was touching and engaging and hilarious all at the same time. Tom Hardy is an absolute beast and really nailed his performance. The chemistry between Eddie and Venom was anything short of heartfelt and witty. This third installment of Venom was indeed a wild ride, but has non-stop action and beautiful moments throughout the entire movie. A definite must-see. I don't know about definite, but if you like the Venom character, I think it does good for it. Slightly different feeling to the previous two with the new lore added in, but with plenty of very fun moments that make you laugh out loud, great action, decent effects, and some plot, though like the other two, the plot's really there as a vehicle for us to enjoy Eddie and Venom's relationship. It's not as good as the first one in some ways, but it's as good as an ending to a really enjoyable trilogy. And I think that's really important. I think it was an enjoyable ending for the trilogy. I don't think it was a terrible ending. With that being said, I think I'm going to have another video talking about what could have been a better ending. At first, I felt kind of mixed on this film, but as the day passed, I began to appreciate the art. Is it anything phenomenal or Nolan level? No, but it's just a fun, action-packed popcorn flick that is perfect to spend the week off, school, or Halloween. Hell yes. Tom Hardy does great as always as Eddie Brock and Venom. The setup for Noel for Spider-Man 4 is very interesting, and bro was terrifying. For fans of the symbiote lore, you'll be feasting in your chair watching this. I'm not afraid to tell you that I teared up a bit near the end, so yes, please go see this. The critics have it wrong, again. It was an absolute bonkers blast and so much fun in the theater. A great ending of the trilogy. Tom Hardy was brilliant as usual, and Kelly Marcel's direction was ambitious, fun, and packed an emotional punch. Yeah, the ending was pretty sad. I'm not gonna lie. I might have fought some tears. Okay, it wasn't that bad. I cried in the theaters for the first time, but that won't make me rate lower other than the ending. It was pretty boring. I can't write more. The best sequel of all the Venoms. Venom The Last Dance was a good movie. I don't know what he means the best sequel of all the Venoms. There's only technically been another sequel, which was Let There Be Carnage. They dropped the ball so hard I had to drop the rating just as much. Don't waste your money on this. That's a little harsh, I'm not gonna lie. I find it baffling how this movie has received such harsh reviews, especially when films like Fast X seem to get the pass. The action sequences are top notch, and the storylines keeps you engaged from start to finish. People really need to chill out and appreciate the fun and creativity this movie brings to the table. It's a must watch for fans of the genre. This is a very nice last movie for a successful franchise. This was amazing, and the third act was probably one of the best third acts I've ever seen. This is the movie the entire family needs to see. This is awesome. Not gonna lie, that ending hits hard. We need Venom and Tom Hardy back. The ending does hit hard. I enjoyed the movie, but I also find it kind of bittersweet in knowing this is the end of Tom Hardy being Venom and the levity he brought to the character. I could see my son's point in feeling the movie was pretty great on many aspects. I didn't entirely agree that it was as great as Deadpool vs. Wolverine. The reason for this is Venom 3 wrapped things up pretty clearly, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but the idea of Venom and Eddie bonding isn't something that is likely to happen in the same way it did before. Not to say that he won't necessarily see Venom again in some fashion. This is the MCU after all, and where there is a will, there is also viral shedding. Laboratory experiment and the will of Marvel scientists. We all know what that means. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do see something more from these symbiotes or from the MCU about Venom. But I suspect that when Tom said this was the end of the line with his rendition as Venom, that he meant that. Do I like it? Not really. I'm convinced that so far Tom has done the best job in justice at bringing Venom to life, and I hope that Sony will keep that in mind as they look forward their future slate and Marvel characters. Then again, with Kraven not yet released, who knows what they might be keeping up their sleeve to surprise the fan base next. And all in all, I give the movie a solid 4 out of 5 stars. And that was a really honest and kind of good review. It was a good review. Here's what could have been done better. 1, don't depict Eddie like he's a drunken the entire time. He's a great actor and deserves more in every role. 2, give the evil character a freaking story like with Thanos. It was such a bad story overall that watching it in cinema for the first time was like a waste of money. Here's what was done well. Eddie did an amazing job as the main character. People need to stop hating because it's a Sonyverse movie. I can agree in saying that the Sonyverse is an awful franchise, but I really love this movie. I have no attachment whatsoever to the Venom movies. I found myself really interested in the story and Eddie and Venom's relationship. I had a blast throughout the whole movie beginning to end. The only reason I went and saw this movie is because it's the last of the Venom movies. I expected this to be a bad movie with a few fun moments. However, when the movie finished, me and my dad both looked at each other and said I expected it to be worse than it was, and was actually a good movie. Overall, I would definitely recommend this if you are a Marvel fan or a fan of the Venom movies. I have to agree with this review 100%. The way people talked about this movie made you think it would be the worst movie I've ever seen, but now that I've seen it, I will say it's not as bad, but it's not as great either. The story is all right. I wish they had incorporated Noel more. The visuals and fight scenes are stunning, and I was surprised at how many visuals or slapstick gags with Venom had me chuckling. The written jokes were meh. Honestly, if you're a Venom fan or just want a fun, under 2 hours movie, you will like this movie. But if you were just a casual superhero fan or not one of the best and biggest ones, you probably won't. And I thoroughly enjoy myself the whole time. I like the part where Venom said, "We are Venom," and I venomed all over the place. Okay. This was a stinking pile of dog poo. And you could go check these out yourself. There's tons of reviews, people going in depth about this. People are just talking about it, and some people just straight up shitting on it. I mean, I'm going to include some things. This is just me scrolling through Verified tab. There's generally a lot of good reviews on this, 3 stars and up, with occasional like 2 and 1 stars. But I don't know. You let me know if you've seen Venom: The Last Dance and what you thought of it. Do you think it was a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy? And do you think it's more of just a setup for Spider-Man? Let me know all that down below.